3, and then JKR Barat Daya rejected 2. Even though we have accepted the submission and cleared from our side, having fulfilled on paper on all the conditions laid down as per required under the SOP, but when it's being submitted to the local authorities such as JKR, that is where you have to take into consideration information that were not fully provided for, whether it's in the form of the underground digital mapping or in the form of there were some other utilities that were not detected, but it was discovered that it could be the routing where you have the 132 kV cable, and there's only one feed of 132 kV cable into Penang Island. If you hit a 132 kV, the whole Penang goes black. So that's something that had been very cautiously done. And this is another way of looking at how, where the rejections came from. And there were 4 submissions that were submitted to us, having processed, but it was retracted voluntarily by the telcos. It all came from Time, 3 under MPPP's area and 1 from JKR Barat Daya. Is another way of looking at it, how these applications were retracted due to a number of reasons. And they are also, because there was an influx of applications towards the final week of December, and we were unable to process it and have them submitted to the local council or JKR, and this is where there were 9 being held up at our office as at 31st December, and all targeted at JKR, DTL area. This is another way of looking at it. And applications on KIV by telco, I'm so sorry. This was not held up by us, but it was KIV by the telco. I think it's due to a realignment of priority and so on. Now, there were a few cases held up at our office. We have to admit there were 4 from Maxis for MPPP zones, and there were 2 coming from JKR DBD from Telecom Malaysia. Do they add up, or there were 2 more from AVM? This is another way of looking at it. Cases pending at PDC Telco as at 31st December. This is something that I'd like to stress. Having presented on the total statistics and the various permutation when we were processing all the submission applications for the work permit to trench. All these trenching are meant for single operator use. Time Telecom had its own planning. They will trench for their own customers. So are the rest. What Penang, together with CMI and UPenn, are attempting to do is basically to have minimum digging of our road pavement and our civil structure so that we can minimize costs and enhance resource sharing. And that is where the idea of a common trenching system for telecommunication infra came into being. So that on planning side, we wanted to have a conduit, a ducting system that can cover the capacity needs that can cater to as long as 35 years in the future. And we are also looking into technology and solutions that can support, without any further digging, enhancement in terms of capacity can be done with the buried ducts, microducts, and the fibers. So those have been the core line for our architecture. And we will adopt a different strategy for the year 2013 to motivate and also to promote resource sharing as well as healthy competition, so that we will do away with monopoly of the dominant incumbents. And throughout the entire backbone that ensured the success, that we managed to process 167 applications within 9 short months. We read just from one chapter, or one common chapter with the rest, with the agencies that approved and ultimately issue the work permit with the contractors and also with the telecom operators. And all in all, the crux of this application process is tied to a 42-day benchmark. We wanted to uphold this 42-day benchmark together with the contractor, together with the operator, and together with the approving local authorities. 42 days work out to be about 6 weeks. You have 2 weeks to process on the first stage level, whereby all the SOP compliance issues were adhered to, and the balance of 4 weeks is for both parties, the approving authorities as well as the telcos who commissioned the project to comply with all the documentation. 2 weeks to finish off with the first stage, 4 weeks to finish off with the second stage. Of course, under the SOP, we cater for 8 weeks. That is, the first 2 weeks is for internal processing at PDC telco level. But internally, we have instructed our team from within that we should relay all the applications to the local authorities respectively within 1 working week itself. So the 42 days countdown starts from the day the documented package is forwarded from PDC Telco's office to the office of MPPP or JKR, the 2 districts, and in the future you cover the entire state. The 42-day benchmark will have to be complied with by the operator, by the local authorities, but the local authorities maintains its authority over the issuance of the work permit. So this is how the 42-day benchmark was observed by TT.com or Time Telephone. Out of a total of 102 applications approved within 42 days. That's what I would like to look at. 29 were approved by MPPP and 1 was approved by JKR Barat Daya. The rest incurred a processing time of more than 42 days. I think these will be the areas that will require improvement. That's expectation as far as I am concerned, but I think this is also the same consensus that is shared by my team at PDC Telco and also to a certain degree by all the operators who submitted the applications. So many were held up for more than 42 days, for example, in the JKR Laut, there were 6, and they were processed for more than 42 days, including the second stage application, 23, also at JKR DTL. And there are submissions that were KIB'd by the operators themselves, so operators will also have some room for improvement in this case. This is how the 42-day benchmark was observed by Telekom Malaysia. None were approved within 42 days. There's only 1 approved slightly more than 42 days. That is under the care of JKR Timor Laut. And there were 31 applications that were being held up for processing for more than 42 days, which include the second stage application. There's a lot of improvement, room for improvement for all parties concerned. This is how the 42-day submission benchmark was observed by Maxis. None was approved within the 42 days time frame. There were 4 approved more than 42 days. But there were also 9 that were being processed for more than 42 days, including the second stage application. A total of 13, and you have all this. This is how the 42-day benchmark was observed in the case of DG submission. 1 was approved within 42 days under the care of MPPP. 1 was approved more than 42 days. And this is a breakdown of the processing time involving the 3 local authorities on the island. Out of 155 applications, MPPP approved 30 and JKR DBD approved 1, which are all well within the 42-day time frame. Whereas there were 33 submissions that were approved more than 42 days, 22 at MPPP, JKR DTL 7 and 2 at JKR DBD. Of course, there were rejections. But more importantly, out of 155, there were 77 being processed for more than 42 days, which included the second stage application. When it includes the second stage application, that means there were some hiccups during the ultimate documentation. The documentation for compliance were not fully supported. And out of 77, 18 were held up at MPPP, 38 at DTL. I think this is something worth probing further, why such a big number, and there were 21. If you were to combine together JKR, DTL, JKR Timor Laut, had a total of 59 being processed for more than 42 days, including the second stage application. But of course, there is a footnote which says there were 12 other applications that were either retracted or not being submitted yet for this time, not submitted from the PDC Telco into the local authorities. So this is where we wanted to see more improvement involving the operators. Even though on the surface the SOP issues were adhered to, but when it comes to the second stage documentation, compliance, payment of this performance bond, as well as some ongoing projects that were found to be non-compliant and some stop work order were issued. So these are the kind of roadblocks that we need to overcome in order to move fast in the year 2013. There were, out of those many forms of statistics, there were 3 interesting points which I like to highlight. And some were benchmark or standards of its own. For example, MPPP, throughout the 9 months last year, at one point, they managed to approve 11 applications from TT.com within 5 calendar days. We are not talking about 5 working days. We are talking about 5 calendar days, which may include weekends when people do not work. I'd like to send my kudos to MPPP for having moved at such a breakneck speed for a government agency. You deserve some applause. JKR DBD must be rejected, must be commended, must be given the same applause for having no hesitation in rejecting 2 applications from industry giant, that is Telecom Malaysia, within 5 calendar days due to unsuitable locations. This shows no compromise when it comes to the architecture of all these telecommunication networks. A big round of applause for JKR. No hesitation. When it's SOP, it is SOP. However, JKR DBD also holds another record. It holds the longest processing period, maximum of over 300 days so far, and still counting. So this is something very interesting. I purposely withhold further information, where are the cases and so on, but certainly it needs more multi-party communication between the applicants as well as the approving authorities to sort things out. So having provided you all these statistics, we are transparent. PDC Telco, having been entrusted by CMI and UPenn to be the sole implementer of common trenching system in Penang. We wanted to be accountable. And when we are capable of doing all these things with good documentation and follow-up, and to ensure speedy rollout plan for all the telcos, we are in actual fact fulfilling the aspiration of YAB Link 18, that we wanted to have a system that is competent, accountable, and transparent. The so-called C18 mode of governance. Having said that, we also like to take this opportunity to thank all parties together. I think we have crossed the first year of working together as partners. So we would like to take recognition of the contribution of all parties involved. Tonight, we are going to present 3 appreciation awards on this first occasion that we are having an appreciation night. There's going to be an award for the contractor of the year. There's going to be an award for the telco of the year. There's also going to be an award for the local authority of the year. And we expect to have more keener competition among all this for the year 2013, where we will see each other again in this room, or perhaps some bigger rooms in the year to come. For the contractor of the year, it's rated by the operator themselves. It is the operator who commissioned the contractor, having had to fulfill all the SOPs set by the Interagencies Forum, and it's also rated by the PDC Telco when we were gathering information, compiling the application package before they were being forwarded to the local council or JKR, and supervision on site during the contracting period, and as well as total evaluation after coring processes, so that we can call for the closure of that particular 2.5 kilometer maximum length of trenching. The criteria that we evaluated on is, number one, there has to be good adherence level to JKR's guidelines. All of us comply with JKR's guidelines, of which the local councils do comply as well and have no objection of having a different set of guidelines. Adherence to JKR guidelines when it comes to civil engineering, and also the interagency SOP, and also compliance to work completion within the authority's permit period. It needs to be emphasized that MPPP and MPSP ultimately will issue work permit that will only allow for the trenching to be done within 2 calendar months. And each application is limited to only 2.5 kilometers in length, which means if the progress of trenching, whether it's through HDD or otherwise, can be achieved at 200 meters per day, that's well sufficient time to finish the maximum length of 2.5 kilometers while well within 60 days. And for the case of JKR, the practice is to issue work permit that lasts 6 months. We'll be making strong recommendation to the interagency platform this year, so as we have a consistent one system operating procedure, so that we are looking at only 2 calendar months as the maximum limit for each application that does not exceed 2.5 kilometers. And of course, PDC Telco's specifications. The documents that we rely on are the audit reports submitted by the